Sci-fi, horror, fantasy, absurdism in the extreme. It's all available here in the Tales from the Omni Vault book series. Check the description for Amazon links so you can get your copies and start reading today. Thank you all, and now, on to the video.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni Viewer, and welcome to Genre Bender's Obscurities and Flawed Gems, where we look at the best stuff you've never heard of. The idea of finding living dinosaurs in some remote region of the world has been a staple of fiction for a very long time. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle set the standard with The Lost World, and Marion C. Cooper refined it with King Kong. There's no shortage of such stories. But there is one that tends to get overlooked by the masses. So today, we'll be taking a closer look at the land unknown.
An anomaly has been found in Antarctica. Out there amidst the ice and snow, there is a large body of warm water. The U.S. Navy sends a team to research the phenomenon, comprised of Commander Harold Roberts, Lieutenant Jack Carman, Captain Burnham, and reporter Margaret Hathaway. Unfortunately, when a flyover of the lake is cut short, something collides with their helicopter and they descend into a tropical valley deep underground. This valley is frozen in time, specifically the Mesozoic era, and so is teeming with dinosaurs and huge lizards. Unable to repair the chopper and uncertain if their radio is transmitting properly, the crew is effectively stranded, but they might not be completely alone.
I believe that when most people think of the land unknown, they tend to think of it as a campy movie, and this is largely due to the dinosaurs.
You have three varieties that show up here: a guy in a suit, a couple of puppets and animatronics, and a lot of slurposaurs. Based just on that, you might make certain assumptions about the movie's quality. I mean, just look at the T-Rex. For one thing, it looks like a guy in a suit, especially thanks to the shapeless body and arms that just stick out and never move. Moreover, the design itself is just goofy looking. The proportions are so exaggerated and the shape so unusual that it looks like it was based on a child's crayon drawing of a T-Rex. Then you have the awkward stiffness of the elasmosaurus while it swims through the lake, as well as the unnatural way its front flippers move, which is like it's trying to do a breaststroke despite not having the range of motion to pull it off. Top all of that off with lizards, and since they're obviously lizards, they stand out from the dinosaurs. This movie also makes use of having the lizards fight, and this might be one of the more brutal examples thereof. Look at this, you can actually see the victim's skin hanging from this guy's mouth. That's unexpectedly gruesome for a 50s B movie.
So the land unknown tends to get overlooked, or if it does get mentioned, it's usually in the context of being really cheesy. But does it deserve that reputation? Well, after a recent rewatching, I've actually concluded that it deserves a lot more attention because it's a bit better than it usually gets credit for.
Let's get back to those dinosaur effects. To be clear, they're not great, but they're actually better than you'd expect.
The aforementioned T-Rex suit is not one of the better dinosaur suits ever made, but it actually has some elements that are really impressive.
For example, the eyes can blink. That seems like a minor thing, sure, but that feature is something that creature suits usually didn't have back in the day. They were especially rare in the 50s. Then there's the performance by Tim Smith. Or Smythe? Whatever. It's noted in the movie that in this universe the dinosaurs have eyes on the sides of their heads as opposed to facing front like mammals. You might notice that this T-Rex is constantly making slight turns as it approaches a target, which is how we know he's looking at it. He can't see it head on, so he adjusts his vision as he goes. This is a very subtle performance choice that adds a layer to the creature. What we're seeing here is a good suit performance hindered by a bad suit.
Heck, the overall effects are really good, all things considered.
Look at the matte paintings used for wide shots of the valley. Not only does the style look realistic, but it also looks three-dimensional, so when it's overlaid with a bit of fog and cloud cover, it really looks like an expansive prehistoric landscape. The way the dinosaurs and humans are blended into the same setting is also impressive, like this shot of the raft and the elasmosaurus heading towards each other. There's a very simple trick done to blend the two shots. See this pointy rock in the foreground? This is hiding the spot where the two shots are joined together. This, combined with how still the water is, allows the illusion to work. Or how about this shot? I swear, if the T-Rex suit looked better, this would be a shot for the ages.
I'm genuinely not sure how they pulled some of these scenes off. And even if I did know, they'd still be impressive. The thing that really stood out to me upon my most recent viewing, however, was the tragedy of the human antagonist. Wait, the dinosaurs aren't enough? We need humans too? As it turns out we do, Snazzy, because he adds a level of pathos to the story.
The human antagonist is Dr. Carl Hunter, the only surviving member of a lost expedition from 10 years prior. He's been on his own since then, but he's figured out how to survive. He randomly destroys dinosaur eggs to curb their population, and has conditioned them to fear the sound made by blowing into a conch shell. Against all odds, he has once again demonstrated that humans become the dominant species no matter the circumstances.
Yet Hunter is not an aspirational hero like Tarzan or Mowgli. As it turns out, being stranded in a savage land where he has to constantly fight for survival every day has taken a toll on his psyche.
He's not irrational, but a decade spent in constant violence and fear has made him cruel. He does save his fellow castaways several times, and even offers to let them know where the wreckage of his chopper is so they can make repairs, but there's a catch. Hunter intends to stay in the valley, and he wants Maggie to stay with him. You can probably guess why. Unfortunately, being stranded in a savage land has brought out the worst in Hunter. And unlike a certain character from a certain animated show set in a certain fictional island, his behavior is not praised or excused. Civilized behavior is what prevails as the wild man is put in check.
Keen viewers, however, will notice that I called Hunter the antagonist, but not the villain.
You see, what happened to him is treated as tragic, and even though he gives the protagonists nothing but grief, they don't hate him for it. In fact, when they're finally able to leave, they witness Hunter get attacked by the elasmosaurus and lose. Even though they could easily leave him to his fate, they instead choose to save him because they're not as uncaring as he is. They also believe that he can be rehabilitated upon his return to civilization.
After all, everything he did was in the name of survival, and in similar circumstances anybody might have done the same. He's not evil, nor is he irredeemable. He just needs some serious healing. You have to admit, though, naming him Hunter is a bit on the nose. Maybe, but it was the 50s, so I don't think it was a deal breaker. In the end, I think the Land Unknown deserves to be treated better than it usually is.
The story itself might not be groundbreaking, but it's a solid adventure with an interesting exploration of mankind's place in the natural world. I think most people write it off purely because of the special effects, but even those aren't completely awful. The dinosaurs might not look stellar, but what's done with them frequently is.
The very definition of a flawed gem, then? Indeed. So if you've never seen it before or haven't seen it in a while, I recommend watching it again and appreciating what it does. Just to be clear, though, it is okay to laugh at the T-Rex. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni viewer signing off. I probably should have mentioned the man-eating plants somewhere. Whatever, it's not that vital to the plot.